to a special episode of Shifting the Atmosphere, and I'm your host, Frederica Peterson. I'm here today with a very dear friend of mine and my special guest, Marty Finkle. He is the master of negotiations for many of you that may have heard of him. You're in for a treat with this interview today because we're going to be sharing some insights and perspective on a very difficult transition he's going through right now. Thanks for joining us. I'm here today with my guest, Marty Finkle. Marty, it's so great to have you joining me today.
Thanks, Frederica.
Absolutely. And so our show today is going to be about the fabric of your life. Now, every part of your life is like weaving the threads. Every aspect of your life is like weaving the threads of fabric to create the fabric. And this fabric of your life really shows all the different things that you've been through. And I believe that your life, Marty, is like a kaleidoscope of colors, and it's a kaleidoscope of different threads. And it's become this beautiful piece of fabric that the world is able to see. Because you've lived an incredible, incredible journey. And what I love about you so much is that you live your life with intention, and there's such authenticity in that, because not everybody does. And you're very present. You're very present in your thoughts. And just being around you is infectious in the way that you do things. And that's why I want to do the show about you.
I appreciate that.
You. Because this challenge, our audience is going to find out, but this challenge that you're facing right now is pretty incredible. And the way that you're going through it, in my eyes, is not only incredible, but it's inspirational. And I believe that there are people that are watching this today that are going through some amazing challenges, and they need to hear what you have to say, and they need to hear about how you're moving through this own difficult journey in your life, because transition, no matter what it is, can be a challenge. Whether it be you or someone else that you're going through, the transition is impactful. So I want to tell our folks a little bit about Marty so that you know who he is and what he's done, and to find out a little bit more about him, we're going to take you to the website. So I'll just give you the condensed version. So Marty is a certified performance technologist, and he's the founder and CEO of Ascendu LLC. And he's the director of Scott Work, and he is a renowned industry expert and sought-after speaker who has worked with numerous Fortune 1000 companies that include Unilever and AT&T and Franklin Quest and Oxford Health Plans and so many more. He's a sought-after speaker, he's a motivational talker, and he's also an amazing facilitator, which is how I know him. And so, Marty, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, very, very much.
Absolutely. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about your journey and the fabric of your life.
Sure.
And so I want to start the show off like I do with everyone, and that is for you to tell us your journey. So I want to get to the point of telling folks how you shift the atmosphere. So tell us about your journey and how that got you to this place you are today, and then we're going to share a little bit of the challenge that you're going through with our
No, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I just was with a group down in San Antonio and got a chance to really share a lot of this. I told the story about years ago when I was with Franklin, which was an interesting journey in itself. Yeah. I had written a mission in my life, if you will, of helping others to help themselves. This is way back in the mid 90s. And it's been interesting living it. It's been an incredible journey along the way to define what that means, whether it's with my family, my husband and my children, with my business, with the businesses I've worked for at AT&T and Unilever and running Scott Work for a number of years. And in helping them, it's different than helping them, period. If I help them help themselves, that means I'm giving them the power to do things like negotiate better or treat each other with more warmth or whatever it is. So all throughout my career in running organizations or running a corporation like Scott Work, I've actually gotten a chance to do that and watch people be successful. Yeah. So there's actually a blanket, it's not actually, it may be sitting over my shoulder, that was embroidered because of my new journey that says helping others help themselves. I've got so many things going through my head about this so every step along the way, personally, professionally, with my children, with my spouse and my friends and my businesses, that's been a core tenet. And it's interesting because a lot of businesses focus on profitability or on just building the business. But the core of any business is the human beings that are running it. And the core of any recipient are human beings on the other side. And one of the things I take a lot of pride in is that connectivity in that human dynamic.
Yes.
And that's really what's run my life.
Yes, yes. And would you say that when you say helping others help themselves, because I love that, as you know, I live by the motto, I help people live up to their potential. So I get that. It's that whole, human connection. But how much do you learn by helping others about yourself? Because that's what I find. When you help others to achieve their higher levels, that you learn so much more about yourself that helps you go to higher levels as well.
I'll give you a good example. This week I was teaching a group of 18 medical device professionals how to negotiate with whether it's systems of care, hospitals, or distributors like McKesson or other types of companies. Well, before I did, I revealed myself to them and revealed what I'm living with. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I stood up in front of the audience. It was only 18 people, not huge, but very personal.
Yeah.
We spend 33 hours with them. And I said, before I started, I've got to share something with you. I've got to come out with some information that you need to know, because there are going to be some times when I sit.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of looking at me with weird looks. And I said, I was diagnosed 9 weeks ago with stage 4 metastasized lung cancer. And I stopped and I cried. And then I started again and I said, listen, I'm not looking for empathy from you. I'm not looking for sympathy. I need you to understand that if I sit down at times, it's because my back hurts because my lung is shooting pain out my back. Yeah. I said, it's not for anything more than to help you understand. Well, Howard, who was sitting over there in that corner, said, Marty, yeah, my dad was just diagnosed about 4 months ago with metastasized lung cancer. Are you taking Keytruda? And I said, yes. He said, he is too. And I gave him my card and I said, I'm starting a group on people taking an immunotherapy. How about you connect me with him? And so it was a story for me, but the helping others help themselves at the end of the week, I had people coming up to me telling me, this cancer has been in my family, or this has been my personal impact. You not only helped us negotiate and understand the other side, but you helped us be more compassionate and be more understanding and realizing, oh shoot, you look normal, but you got something going on inside of you that I don't know. That's the essence of helping people come to that realization, Frederica.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it was one of the reasons, even when I found out about it, we had a chance to talk, and I said, we've got to do something, because there's these blogs that you write. I'm jumping around a little bit, but it's okay. There's these blogs that you write on Caring Bridge. And what I know, because you are so present in this difficult transition, and because you're so open about it, I believe when people are open about the things that they're challenged with, yes, it's a vulnerability, you know. God forbid somebody should know there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, sure.
But the thing that happens is it starts to touch and endear you to other people that are having their own struggles. And maybe it's not cancer. Maybe it's some other debilitating thing, you know, that's going on in their life. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe, you know, we don't know what it is, physical. But when they hear someone else having a very similar challenge, there's something to that makes them feel validated. That makes them feel okay with it. And I think it will help people even that have loved ones that are going through something like that, to allow them to be more understanding, because
Sure.
what it is you can't be, sometimes it is difficult for us to be compassionate about things that we don't understand.
Yeah,
The more we understand, the more we're able to be compassionate.
what's really interesting is when I started this journey, when 9 or 10 weeks ago, I can't remember off the top, in September 29th is when I found out the biopsy results.
And what's the prognosis too? You got a short amount of time, right?
Well, it's interesting. It's a debate between my husband and myself of whether the doc said this out loud, or whether I read it, between 3 and 18 months. And I basically told the doc to F off.
Right.
I won't say it out loud
Yeah,
because
I
we're
understand.
recording.
I understand.
But I decided at that point in time that I need to tell a story. But the interesting thing is, as soon as I found out the diagnosis, one of my clients is Merck. And I called Beth, and last year around this time, I helped them launch Keytruda in Europe and in South America. And I called Beth and I told her, I really, really appreciate what Jimmy Carter went through and the fact that Keytruda is so impactful.
Yep.
I need to tell you, I'm going to try it out. And she said, what? And I said, yeah, I was just diagnosed with lung cancer and it's metastasized into my liver. And she goes, oh, Mart. And I said, no, don't feel sorry for me. I want to tell you that this is important that I tell you and your husband, Jeff. Jeff and I have known each other for 12, 14 years. And she said, well, where are you going? And I said, I already have an appointment with Sloan. And she goes, well, I'm going to talk to Paul, and he's going to talk to your doctor. What's your doctor's name? I gave it to her, and she said, well, he's going to talk to her and tell her about you and how we're connected. And, I mean, all of a sudden, the world came together.
Yeah.
So I decided on a weekly basis, somewhere between Saturday and Monday, because it slips a little bit, to write a blog on Caring Bridge. And I've included not only my family and my friends, but all my business associates, because I wanted to make sure that if they are going through anything, whether it's a loss of a job or a loss of a family member or a loss of, or finding out you have cancer, whatever it is, that they realize they're not alone. And they realize that the hope and the vision of being better can help you be better, who you are. So I decided to be very public about this and tell my story.
Yeah, and I think you're helping people, and I think you know that.
Yeah.
You're getting responses through Caring Bridge, right? About people that you've been helping, and maybe they're not going through it, but a loved one is going through it, and it's not just because it's cancer, it's death, that word.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's the reality that it may be closer than you know. The only difference is that you have some sense based on what they've said to you. We still don't know what the end result is, and we're all believing. I know I'm believing for you. You're going to be here 10, 20, 30 more years. Yeah. Dance at my wedding, whenever they're right? But,
okay.
But there's some people, right, that may not be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just a lesson in being present, because you don't know. I mean, I learned that lesson through losing my nephew, as you know.
Sure.
And so I am very present, and I'm very vulnerable with people, and I'm not afraid of making mistakes or say how I feel. And there's something freeing about that, but I also think that there's something to that makes people endear themselves to me. And so that allows me to have more influence, and it allows me to help people go on this journey with me. Why should we go alone?
Yeah.
Right? Why should you go?
Oh, no, I totally agree. I've gotten the most incredible phone calls.
Yes.
And emails and texts and everything else. One of my colleagues who works as the head of procurement for ice cream company. Funny enough, my dogs that were barking at you before, I brought one of the dogs down to the vet, and I had texted Mark and said, I just wanted to talk to you about something that's really important. Could you give me a call? It's a Saturday morning. And he flips me a note back and he said, "This doesn't sound good. What's going on?" And I said, "I'm not going to text you. Call me when you get free." So he called me and we talked and I told him about me and he cried. And this is a man that you would not expect to have tears. Not that he's stoic, but that I made such an impact on him and his team over the years that we become friends. And it was just really impactful to hear that outpouring. And it's one of many instances where I've talked to people that I knew I liked a lot, but I didn't realize how many people cared. Amazing thing happened this week.
What happened? Yeah.
I was at the conference I was telling you, the course that I was telling you about, and I got a text or an email from this young man named Dylan, who is with Venture for America. And Venture for America is a group that I'm part of that helps young entrepreneurs become older entrepreneurs and start their own businesses. We send them through a boot camp. We give them money to go off and start their business in a city that is misfortunes, like a Detroit where it totally collapsed.
Yeah.
To build businesses from the inside out and build the infrastructure of the city. So Dylan sends me a note and he said, "I just want to let you know, everybody from VFA is in your corner, and I want you to click on this link, but do it when you're in private," or something akin to that.
Yeah.
So I had 10 minutes before I had to go back into class, and I saw this, and I clicked on the link, and all of a sudden, these video testimonials are coming from these young men and women around the country. Well, I got through the first one, and it was a guy named JY, and the tears started coming on my face. And then the second one started from a guy named Eric, and I'm like, I can't listen to this. So I stopped it.
Yeah.
And later I listened to it at night and wept because, you asked me before, helping others help themselves. These young men and women are so successful in what they're doing. And they're all thanking me to helping them get a part of the way there. Because I'm only an influence. I didn't realize how much of an influence.
That's the thing. When you do this type of work, right, you never understand who you're impacting. And so it's so awesome that you're getting the opportunity for people to be able to pour back into you and say, "This is how you've changed my life." And I think for anybody that is someone that likes to transform or be an agent for transformation, that fuels us, right?
It totally does.
It makes life worth living. It makes you know that, okay, I'm making sense. Okay, I'm on track here. Right?
And the message becomes, and this is kind of the thematic through my blogs.
Yeah.
Don't wait till someone's sick. Right. Don't wait till you're sick.
Yes. I've learned that.
Make it happen now while you're healthy or while you're aware and while you're there.
It's so true.
And tell other people. I mean, if you've got a message to give to others, do it now.
Yeah.
My intention is to live.
Yes, absolutely.
It's out of my hands,
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But part of it, and I keep hearing this from people, part of it is attitude. And the amount of energy I'm getting from telling people the catharsis that it's bringing to me, but more important, watching other people act differently is amazing. Especially in what's happening in these times, the geopolitical times.
Absolutely.
Not talking politics.
Absolutely.
But if you're not hopeful, it's dreadful.
It's absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and that's part of my message.
Yeah, and absolutely. I believe that things are seasonal. And I think that people need to understand that even in this really uncertain and really difficult climate that we're in, it's seasonal. When this election happened, we're not going to talk politics, we promise that. I never do. but I did go on a bit of a rant, which you can go on my YouTube page and watch, because there were many friends and associates that I had heard and watched on Facebook that were having complete meltdowns. Even talking to them, like their whole life just seemed like it was over, we're doomed. Like you thought Armageddon was happening, and I'm like, it was an election. I mean, what we have to understand is one person is not the ruler of our lives. We each have the power and the opportunity to live our lives and impact and influence the way that we need to in order for our life to be what it needs to be. There's things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. And we have to remember that. We get so wrapped up in the hype and forget, wait. I have control over how I'm living my life and how I'm reacting to things. And that's what I love about what's happening with you. It's the way that you're reacting. But I kind of want to back up a second and ask you a question.
That's okay.
Because this may help someone else. You know, even as we're talking about this. When you went to the doctor, what initially made you go to the doctor? That's the question. You know, was there something happening that made you say,
well,
I need to go and
it's kind of
out?
a funny story.
Yeah.
You have known me, and you actually watched me shed 40 pounds in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It has nothing about me being sick.
Right.
There's nothing to do about that.
Right.
I decided when I started my own company, Ascendu.
Yeah.
When I became the board director for Scott Work and then opened my own door, I said part of my business plan was to get healthy.
Yep.
So I decided to walk between 6 to 7 miles 4 times a week. And I went down 40 pounds over 2 years. And I just feel absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
To today, except for the side effects from Keytruda, I feel awesome. So I went for a walk, and I came in my front door here, and my ex-wife was here picking up my daughter. She and I have become friends over the last number of years, rekindled our friendship. And she's picking my daughter up, and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you look really bleached out. Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I just walked 9.5 miles.
Okay.
She goes, "Oh."
Okay.
She said, "What's that cough about?"
Yeah.
Let me show you the cough I had. That was it. She said, "What's that about?" And I said, "Oh, I think my asthma's kicking up." It hasn't kicked up for years.
Okay.
For years. I was a smoker, and I stopped 17 years ago.
Okay.
So I think it's my asthma kicking up. She said, "Well, are you doing anything about it?" Funny. So I said, "Yeah, I have an appointment on Friday with my pulmonologist just to check." So I go to the pulmonologist on Friday, and I say, "Dr. Sussman, I think my asthma's kicking up." He said, "Well, let me check a couple things." And 10 minutes later, he said, "Mark, yeah, your asthma's kicking up." And I said, "And I'm paying you for this?"
Right.
He starts laughing. We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Starts laughing. He said, "Yeah, let me send you down for a chest x-ray and breathing test." He said, "We'll just make sure you're okay."
Yeah.
So I go down and I get my breathing test, and the guy does a chest x-ray, and I do a lot with medical device companies.
Okay.
So he said, "You want to see the chest x-ray?" And I said, "Of course I do." So I look at it, and one is totally black, which is normal,
Yeah.
and one is totally black except for this little spot up on top, and it's got cloudy. It's kind of cloudy, and I'm like, "I don't know what that is." He said, "Well, I can read it, but I'm going to send you up to the doctor." And I said, "Oh, okay." I didn't think anything of it, just nothing.
Yeah.
So I go up to the doctor with my breathing test in hand, and I deliver it to their office. 15 minutes later, they come out to me. They say, "Mr. Finkle, yes, Dr. Sussman would like to see you. She wants to read back your breathing test to you." I said, "Oh, great. That's great."
Yeah.
So I walk back, and I sit in his office, and he goes, "Mark?" I said, "Yeah." "I got some bad news." And I said, "What?" I said, "The breathing test, right?" He goes, "No, it's exactly the same as it was 3 years ago. But there's a spot in your lung, and I think it's cancer." Just like that. And I'm like, I said, "Okay." And I started crying. And I didn't know what to do. And he said, "You got to see it." And I looked at it, and of course, it's that cloud. And he said, "I need to send you to a CT scan." So that afternoon, I went to a CT scan, and Monday morning, he said, "I'll give you a call probably around 10 o'clock. Well, I go on the portal because I got a text that there's something on my portal. It's the CT scan. 4 hours before my doctor calls me, I find out I've got incurable lung cancer. I can't get a hold of my husband. I can't call my kids.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And the doctor's unavailable.
Oh my
So I lived with that for 4 hours, sitting there going, and for 4 hours, I was on 2 phone calls with 2 of my clients and a team call.
And told nobody.
I couldn't. What did I do? I needed to tell Mike first.
Yeah, I get you. What was going through your mind?
Oh, I was devastated. I couldn't think. I'm sitting there going, what do I say to my kids?
Yeah, yeah. It's just a whole lot of things start.
I got a new grandson.
Yeah.
I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of people that I got to help themselves. I'm not done. My work is not done.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And from that point, I said, no, I'm not going to give up. And that's when I made the call to Beth from Merck, and I called Sloan Kettering, and I got an appointment for the next morning. And 4 days later, I took my first infusion of an immunotherapy because I got told by my doctor, chemo won't work. Your cancer is not susceptible to it. Radiation won't work in no operation, so the only thing you have to maybe help you possibly is immunotherapy. To which I was happy, I guess, because Jimmy Carter was cancer-free because of it, maybe me too.
That's right.
And so it's given me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And I decided at that point also with Mike, not to stop working.
Yeah.
Because people give me energy.
Yeah.
They do. They give me energy. I love people. You know me.
Yes, yes,
How long have you
understand.
known me?
Gosh, it has to be at least 10 years now.
Yeah. Well, and our paths continue to cross.
Absolutely. You've always been a breath of fresh air.
Oh.
Even when I was deciding to just leave corporate America. I remember that conversation that we had together, and you just really gave me some good advice, to think about, as I was moving on that track and living up to that principle that you live by, helping people to help themselves.
It's just, it keeps me going.
Yeah.
And, as sad as I get sometimes, as much as the cancer kicks the wind out of me, it's almost like, Frederica, it's like getting kicked in the lung hard when it hurts.
Yeah.
And it's not a sharp pain. It's like having a Charlie horse, and you can't rub it out.
Yeah.
And it takes me probably 15, 20 minutes to be done with it. But then I start thinking, my kids, my husband, my grandson, my business, the people that I continue to touch, that's more important. And if I have a short life or a long life, it's my life, and I'm in control.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you stay so present in such a challenge? You stay so incredibly present and positive and optimistic and forward thinking. How do you do that? That's not easy. A lot of people struggle there.
Yeah, and did you ever hear of On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross? It's a pretty incredible book, and it was written years and years and years ago. And it tells you about the 7, I think there's 7 phases of things that you do, like anywhere from disbelief to avoidance to grief to dealing with it to moving forward. I kind of done that for years. And whenever somebody told me someone died or they had a disease or whatever, I was the positive thing in there. So I kind of turned that mirror back around to myself, and I said I could do one of 2 things. I can be really sad and I can crumple, or I can move forward for as long as I possibly can and be positive about it. And that's what I chose to do. I don't want to be sad. I'm sad enough when it really hurts.
Sure.
I've got too much to do.
Yeah.
And that's not obligation.
Mm-hmm.
That's desire to continue to live a good life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I told you, I have got 3 bucket list items left. And that tells me, and a lot of my friends and my family, that I have lived a phenomenal life. Phenomenal life. I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Yeah, that's really good.
Nope. So the 3 are
Yeah.
to live a month in Tuscany with my husband, to eat and drink my way through Tuscany.
Okay.
To
You have to let me know all the places you
Yes, absolutely. to live and eat my way through Provence for a month. That's number 2. And to go to Alaska because it would top off the 50 states.
Okay.
So I've been to all
You've
but
been all
but
okay.
one.
Okay.
I don't think the month is realistic, but here's what's realistic. Mike and I are preparing, hopefully in the spring, to go to the Mediterranean on a cruise. We'll see Tuscany, we'll see the Amalfi Coast, we'll see Venice, we'll see Croatia.
Yeah.
Places that I want to go
Yeah. Yeah.
that are the embodiment of Tuscany. Because I'm taking this immunotherapy, I can't drink anymore. And wine is a passion of mine. Not that I drink a lot, but I love the flavors and I love describing the essence of wine and sharing it with friends. And I've made a 4th thing, and it's not a bucket list, but it's more my desire. If I'm not going to make it for a long length of time, I've got a 60th birthday coming up on June 11th, 2019.
We talked about that. Yes, we did.
If I'm not going to make it to that point, I'm going to invite all my friends over, and we're going to have one heck of a party here. And there's a wine cabinet in my home that needs to be emptied. So there's the first. But if I do make it to 2019, June 11th, I'm going to invite all my friends over, and we're going to empty the wine cabinet with the sole purpose of finishing off all the really incredible wines with one recommendation or one must, that they each have to bring a really fine bottle of wine with them to fill it back up. So we can do it again at 70.
That's right. I was about to say, at some point you'll be off the Keytruda, and you're going to want to drink that wine. So, I think that's important too.
Well, we'll find out in March. In March.
Okay, all right.
I'll know in March.
You'll know in March.
I'll know in March how Keytruda is impacting the tumors.
Okay.
If it's really positive, they'll continue on, and they can continue on as long as possible.
Okay.
There's no, it's only been out since October 2016 for my lung cancer. And if it's not, then we've got other things that we need to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
That's positive.
Yeah.
There's guiding principles you've been living your life by since you were wee size. What are some of those that have really been the foundation of how you live your life? And I believe the story that we were talking about when we were preparing for this was your father and how he raised you all and how those principles started as a young child.
Yeah, it's interesting. I watched my dad and my family. In fact, my cousin was just in, and my dad built a entrepreneurial business. It was called Finkle Candy Company, of all things. My dad was the candy man.
Okay.
So I was very popular in high school. I won all my elections by promising a Reese cup on everybody's desk. The double ones, and when they were big enough that you could actually eat them.
Better than Willy Wonka.
Oh, it was great. Unfortunately, it was candy and tobacco distributor, and I got free cigarettes also. So I smoked from when I was 14 until 29 years later, and that's why I have cancer.
Okay.
But the principles kind of helped me shape helping others help themselves. I have 6 guiding principles. I'm a good partner to Michael. I'm a good dad to my kids and my grandson. I am professional in my work. I'm living physically healthy, which, except for this stupid cancer, it's true. I'm financially healthy, and I'm a good friend and family member. And those are driven by core values that I learned as I grew up and as I ran my businesses and as I just became the human being that I am. I think that's why, maybe that's why my heart is as big as it is. Because of my family and my phenomenal friends and my great business partners that I work with, and my husband, oh my God, he's just amazing. And my children are just these most wonderful human beings. And my family is so supportive. I can't even believe how supportive my family is. I can. But it's amazing how we're gelling together. And the business community, and Venture for America is one example. I can give you 1,000 of people reaching out to me to be so kind, like you and this that we're doing. I would not change my life for the world. I wouldn't, except for this stupid cancer.
Yeah.
But it's given me another teaching point, I guess.
Yeah.
Stupid way of giving a teaching point.
Listen, you get entrusted with things some of the dangest ways, right? Good grief.
So true.
You know what I mean? Oh my gosh,
That was
don't
so
get me
true.
started with that. But I think, those 6 principles, and that was one of the things that it made sense to me when you said it, because I said, you live your life with such intention. This is even before this happened. This was back, that I've known you.
Back in the 80s.
You've been very intentional, in the way that you live your life, and so many people live their life haphazardly. They just kind of let life happen, and that's the way they live. But there's something to living your life intentionally, because you're walking in your life with no regrets.
You've run leadership courses, and I've run leadership courses.
Yeah.
And you ask the question, when you're 85, when you look back on your life, what would you say about it? Well, that's how I wrote my principles.
Hey, there you go.
The guiding principle or the mission is helping others help themselves. And each one of those principles I wrote back in the 80s, the mid 80s. And I said 90s, I meant 80s. And the intent was that I become closer to each one of those. As my life continued on, to being a good partner, I become closer to it in each one.
Yes.
And I was hoping that I would reach 85 and look back and say, I am a good father. I am a good partner. I am professional in my work. And that's how I wrote them. When I was working for Franklin Quest, they came up with that. It was not mine. It's not my original idea. But man, it's driven me all my life.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I'm going to liken that with prayers, because I'm always writing down prayers for people all the time. And one of the things that I learned, I'm not going to take it either, my pastor, through my pastor, was when you're praying about something, you can pray for it to happen, or you can thank that it's already happened. It's the same thing that you're saying.
True.
Right? Thank you that it's already there.
It's visioning,
Yeah, it's visioning, right? It's embracing it. It's
so
saying
true.
that I can have this, because so many times we stand like we're looking through, there's some glass doors over there, you guys. So it's almost like we're standing at the glass door looking out and going, I wish that could be my life. Well, instead of opening the door and saying, that is my life.
Right.
And because when you do that, the resources, the things, your attitude, behaviors, they all start to gravitate toward what you say you are.
Yeah. Well, this guy named Jason asked me about what's it like to be a really good negotiator, or what are some tips? And one of the things is being intentional in what you do, and telling people what it is that you need out of a negotiation. Don't make them guess. And it's interesting, because we try to make people guess at what we're feeling, or what we're thinking, or what we want out of that. And when you shortcut that by letting people know, it's not about being belligerent, it's not about being caustic, it's about just being in integrity and honest. You asked me about why I can keep such a positive attitude. Frederica, I'm really rich. I'm really lucky. I say this often to people. And it comes from a book from years ago called Swim with the Sharks by Harvey Mackay. And I'm going to paraphrase it, because it's not exactly this, but it's an intention. One of the chapters said, if if you can do something you absolutely love to do and get paid for it, you'll be rich beyond your wildest dreams. That was the title of the chapter. One line in it, you define rich. And I kind of look at that going, I think I'm lucky enough that I've defined rich in my life. Well, rich is, I go back to my guiding principles, having a good partner. I'm so rich with Michael. It's just, I married my best friend in college with Jan, and she was my best friend. I came out when I was in my mid-30s, and I was with no one for a little while, and then I found my best friend, and I married him. That's rich for me. I have the most incredible daughters in the world. There's no one more incredible than Sarah and Rachel. And they're unique. They're so different. But being a good dad is about spending time with them. You know, we go out to dinner one-on-one or one-on-two or four of us. But one-on-one, we'll sit there for 2, 3, 4 hours and talk. That's rich. To have a grandson like Keegan, that beautiful kid that's Ricky and Sarah's son, my grandson, our Granberry. I call him our Granberry. You know why?
So
Do you remember?
Granberry?
Do you remember that? So when Sarah was announcing to us, we're sitting at my counter in our kitchen. And Mike is sitting next to Ricky and Sarah, and they're over. We thought they were talking to us about their celebration they were going to do. And Sarah gives Mike a picture, and he looks at it and goes, "Oh my God." He said, "Mart, you got to see this." And it's a picture, and it says, size of a Granberry, or size of a blueberry. I look at it and I go, "Oh, that's a sonogram. Oh my God, you're having my Granberry." Size of a blueberry.
And that's how you came out to it.
So he will be my Granberry all of his life. When he's 30 and I'm talking to him about his children, he will be my Granberry.
You have to get him a little shirt or something that says that on there.
My
rock,
Granberry.
a stone or something.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So the more close I get to each one of my guiding principles, the more rich I get. Being a good business person, I love my work. I'm so passionate about watching people be great. Yeah. That to me is so much pay. But all of those things, and you know, I had my brother and sister-in-law, and this was very funny. For Thanksgiving, it was my brother and my sister-in-law, Rich and Sharon, his ex-wife Leona and her husband. They've been together 20 years, and Rich and Sharon have been together 30. Yeah. My kids and Mike and my ex-wife. So XXXOOO. We were all together. Yeah. And it was a family, and that's rich. And, you know, I just feel so lucky, Frederica, that I've got this life. I can't imagine having any other life. And that's why I'm telling my story.
Absolutely. So I want to give you the opportunity, because we're coming close to the close. I want you to look into that camera, and I want you to tell someone out there that may be struggling with a transition. Maybe there's someone they're losing. Maybe they have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Or maybe there's somebody that you haven't had a chance to touch yet. What would you say to them today? What would you want them to remember?
Yep. No, just thinking. How interesting. If you get told that it's your last days on earth, or that something's happened to you, or you're ready to lose somebody, someone's important to you in your life, just remember that it's up to you how you handle it. My decision was to be very public and very vocal with this, because I want to make sure that people are okay with me and my cancer. But more than that, I want to make sure that I'm reaching them with my heart and my thoughts. If somebody is aching because they don't know what to say to me, I'm giving them permission to ask me anything they want. Do that. If you're the one that's been diagnosed with cancer, or with something else, let it be okay for that person to come to you and talk to you about what it is that's on their mind. Because you don't have a chance if they don't. And leave your message to the world. Mine is helping others help themselves. I want to make sure that I perfect that to a point that it's in other people's hearts, because I want them to do the same thing. So if anything, be genuine, be courageous, be bold, be honest and in integrity, be loving and kind. Don't let people take power from you. Don't put up with crap. And really say honestly what's on your mind. Not to be hurtful, but to really be honest and let people surround you. The one thing that is really giving me hope and help is letting people in. Even people that are having a hard time coming in. A friend of mine, Zoli, was having a hard time talking to me, and another friend told me. He's in Hungary. So what did I do? I hung up the phone with Debbie, and I called Zoli, and we WhatsApped. It's kind of FaceTime for international. And he and I had about an hour plus conversation. If somebody's having a struggle with you and talking to you, and you're having trouble, invite them in. Make a difference. And as I continue to strive for, help others help themselves. That'd be my message. Blinding light.
Marty, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Tell folks how they can get in touch with your work.
Two different ways. If you want to hear my story and continue to listen, my voice is contained in my writing on Caring Bridge. It's all one word, caringbridge.org. Look up Marty Finkle, Finkle, and you can read all the way from diagnosis to today and continuing on for as long as possible. Every Saturday to Monday I will add something. If you want to connect with me business-wise, you can look up Ascendu Group, and it's Ascendu, like I'm ascending up, with a U at the end of it, which is a funny story in itself. Group is the rest of it. So ASCENDUGROUP.com. That's my website. Or just get to me through Frederica, because she's amazing. And we'll leave some links, I'm sure, on your site for that.
Absolutely.
Good.
Marty, thank you
Absolutely.
so much for being with me and for shifting the atmosphere, because I know you did that with so many people today.
Good.
And thanks for joining us today, and we'll be back again soon.